with relegations in EU. A lot to talk about in the next couple of weeks, don't you worry. Let's go through our map ends though. 7-map pool, 6 are down, and 1 will be left. What will it be? Coastline. All right, and Cowana have the final say on this. Takeaway theme park. I have to say though, James, you have the most perfect of drinking pinkies.
It was deliberate.
It was very well done.
Trying to appropriate my culture. I don't like it.
Sorry, mate. Well, my heritage is from England and Scotland, believe it or not. So I guess I can be an honorary member.
You're the most Scottish person I've ever seen, James. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the name James Stewart tells you enough. Hey, Coastline. We're going to Spain for this one, which is okay. It's a short flight, or I think you should probably get it by train. I don't know. I wouldn't know. In Europe, everything is like
the
2
UK?
minutes away.
Yeah, you can. I know.
Okay.
Cowana won this twice during the UK Nationals. 8-6 against... 7-5 against Fierce, 7-4 against London Esports. But MnM have a 1-1 results if you count their game against Na'Vi. They lost that 4-7. They did beat Demise 7-2 during the UK IN season. So, I don't know. Cowana seems like the favourite team here, to be honest.
You know what? I'm interested in seeing if Kayak has changed his name to the Yak. This is something that Des really hammered through last Playday on last Friday, and I'm very excited to see all of this talent really showing up today. There's a lot on the line for it, and as Des messages me right now, the Yak attack. I'm gonna see how that actually moves on forward. Our lobby is ready. We should be ready to toss it over to game. So, Gio, finally from you, who do you expect to take this as a British person yourself?
Therefore, I have jurisdiction.
Exactly.
I think it's going to be an incredibly close game. Obviously, both did really well in UKIN, but because MnM have been around for so long, my heart says them. I don't know what my head says. I'm not going to... We'll forget about that, but my heart says MnM.
All right, let's see how this goes. Gio, James, thank you so much for your input. Let's toss it over to our casters. Bias, some would say, I don't really know about that. It's Des and Fluke, the UK Massive for a matchup, MnM v Cowana.
The real question for me, Fluke, how can you be biased when you're biased towards both teams in the match?
Honestly, Milosh coming in between us and the UK Massive teams, how dare he? This is just us having the ability to rinse both these teams when things go wrong. As was put before, we're kind of familiar with these two sets, really. Just a little. Yeah,
just a speech. Seen them a few times, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is we're also very familiar with how UK teams like to approach this map, and it's usually by taking out every single bit of the floor. All chat's already started instantly.
I mean, wishing each other fun is, I'd say, pretty fair.
There's
no problem with that.
Honestly, I think that was to get rid of the stuff that they probably typed during the lobby. Just a couple.
No one ever needs to know.
Just a couple of things. So, Cowana versus MnM. If you are unaware of how this game is going to play out, expect aggression. It's coastline, sure, but also expect... I mean, bad blood is what I'm going to phrase it as, because, as put by analysts on the desk, Cowana had the UKIN season to top off all UKIN seasons. Usually in our region, it's Na'Vi are the top dogs, and you got to beat them. Secret tried, couldn't, disappeared. Cowana were unbeaten pretty much throughout the entirety of everything, and then everything fell apart because Na'Vi, well, they awoke in the finals, and that got MnM through.
It was a real kind of war season, like I say, a bit of a heartbreak, a bit of hardship experience by Cowana, given how well their season went and how playoffs then turned out to not go so well for them. But speaking of MnM, I've got to touch on these guys on this map, because I remember very, very fondly a certain map they played against Team Secret, the old Team Secret this is, when I'm pretty sure Leon was at a window, and within 5 seconds of every round, there were at least 3 people dead. It was hyper aggressive. It did end up going 7-2 to the side of MnM. You just didn't know which way any given round was going to go, and that's what made it so exciting. And when I saw this map come up, I just thought, man, frag fest is what's coming out of this one, and I'm really excited to see how these two bring it up against each other. It is a bit of a grudge match. They do know each other well, but again, for Cowana, there's that sting in the back of their mind of thinking, we should have been the team that qualified through UKIN, not you, and we are going to prove it here today.
And your favourite man of the moment, at least for today, the Yak, is on board with Cowana. Obviously swapped out from Rendy, who was the player that they had just before all of this kind of came together. And I guess it's seeing if this Cowana 2.0, with a little bit of a change, is going to live up to the illustrious truck that they actually have. They have a truck. Did you know? Yeah, it's a Cowana mobile. They actually have one. So I guess they're trying to...
I really hope they don't call it the Cowana Mobile. That's the worst name for a vehicle I've ever heard.
What do you mean? You're telling me... Well, I remember whenever they went to a boot camp, they went through the famous LAN UK boot camp nightmare, where if you boot camp, you lose. Every single UK team that has ever boot camped for a big thing, lost. Every time.
Yeah. Boot camps for us aren't about a buff, it's about a nerf to the team. You just come away playing so much worse than when you first arrived. No one knows why. Just seems to be a curse in the UK, so teams still keep on trying and hope that one day they may break this sacred curse, but until Geo goes and asks the Queen for a formal pardon for all the teams in the UK, it's simply not going to happen. Anyway, let's have a talk around this first round.
Yeah.
What are we seeing coming out here? Nothing really too much to shout home about, I'd say, in terms of setups on either side, unless you're looking towards something like the Iana coming out for Cowana. I guess the one thing you lean towards on that side is the fact there are 4 frag grenades here. And given there is no Wamai being picked up by the other side of MnM, something we have seen falling away whilst Malus has been in such popularity in some cases, it does mean you've only got that Jaeger to protect you. So I'll be keeping a close eye on where those grenades come singing from, and if the side of MnM can do something to disrupt them before they get to come into full effect.
What you also see with a map like Coastline and grenades is immediacy. There's a couple of little drone holes you can drop those through, but wow, we talk of immediacy. And Cowana takes out previous MVP Naif off the board before things even begin to kick off. This is this map. These are these 2 teams, and this is how it's going to progress. And you can huck those grenades in through so many windows, so many little different locations, around the back of Hookah, around the double window of Billiards if you're trying to put the pressure there, Aqua. There are positions, there are places, there are nightmares, but there's also defenders. I was going to say 5. One less that are going to keep themselves moving and keep themselves doing things like this. Little aggro bits and bobs and bites at the ankles of anyone that gets close.
Totally fine with that. This map in itself does have a lot of external facing windows and doorways. It is very quick to be able to get access to sites if you want it. So on the defensive side, if you're going to try and waste time on a map where there isn't really a lot of ground to cover for the attackers, the best way you can do it is by being at doorways, being at windows and trying to contest. So I don't blame Nathan for his attempts, but unfortunately, Cowana, they're already starting off again. That revenge tour they're on here to prove they are the #1. Still trying to fight that through.
The smoke went a little bit into Jonker's eyes there. He just has to slightly adapt the location. But Kayak is making a lot of big movements on the opposite side. As we said, this was the addition and change for the team. And this is actually a more familiar strategy. We're seeing more and more. Ace being able to open up the back of the big 4 wall and quad. And, well, yeah, they don't usually goodnight someone through the top. Bonkers is off the board. Not quite Bonkers as of yet, but is out of the bar. And, well, that stops them being able to pull things back and pull a little bit of control. Turns it into a little bit more of a kind of no man's land that you just got to try and pepper bullets across.
And look at the spread here. 4 members playing on the south. Sloth goes down. Jonker going to pick up Kayak at the same time, actually. So like that, MnM have brought it back into a glorified 3v3. Yes, you got Sloth down. Maybe he can be recovered. And what a swing coming out from users to bring down Grizzly. Almost catches a Pokeball to Sloth at the same time to finish him off. Wow. They've swung it from a 5 versus 3 to a 3 versus 2. MnM in a great spot in this first round.
Dug in and a bit of a misread there by the boys of Cowana, but they're going to see if they can try and dig their way across. Buck falls down to underneath an operator who fell a little bit out of favoritism with the removal of the frag grenades, but there are certain sites, certain points, and certain places he can show up, and these 2 bars and looking upwards are one of the best places for him to try and find heaven if heaven is killing all of your opponents. Now, with 20 seconds, they've got to try and collapse up the cool vibes, but Jonker's on 1, and he's going to pre-fire round to the other with Dats holding the close angle and only flash grenades coming through. Well,
wow.
And MnM pull it back.
From a 5 versus 3 to a 3 versus nothing. They literally tore Cowana apart there, and given how the round started, I thought, man, Cowana are onto something here. They've got 4 players all on the south side of the building, all gathering and converging on Aqua, looking for an execute. And then maybe you got Sloth waiting to play the late round spoiler as soon as we see the side of MnM trying to contest. But instead, users with some handiwork. Great spray onto the man, upside down rappel on the Aqua doorway. A Pokeball headed towards Sloth. Sadly, he's not a Pokemon. He's a weird animal instead. Can't quite catch him, but still finds a kill onto him regardless. Beautiful stuff and a great first round coming out of MnM, showing you that even when the numbers are down for the one side, it can still step back to come to be a win to them. That's how close and how explosive a game we're expecting from these 2 teams.
Do you know why he's called Sloth?
No idea.
So it was in an interview in UKIN after one of their post games, after one of the many interviews that we had with him, because of, and these are his words, not mine, because of his resemblance to Sid the Sloth from Ice Age.
I mean, that is very reasonable, actually. So that definitely needs a side-by-side comparison, because now you said it, I'm like, Yeah, fair enough, mate. There's little beady eyes of your stuff. I know what you like.
So he kind of threw himself into that, and as I guess anyone does in UK, threw themselves into the meme and this game. You can already see as well a lot of chat about the mute ban. The mute ban was a target ban, and MnM, well, they're just kind of saying, yeah, it's working out well, lads.
Yeah, a bit of a rough one when they're still finding C4 kills regardless, and 3 C4s on side in this round. I'm looking to some vertical play inside the kitchen. The fact they've gone for such an aggro setup in terms of gadgets here just screams to me that they almost want to give Cowana the top floor. They're almost daring them and saying, please come and take it away from us, because once we're downstairs, you are not going to like playing this floor is lava game that we have devised for you, and it's less so lava and more fiery balls of death.
Yeah.
Either way, the mirror set up one upstairs, one on the downstairs here. They've got themselves some temporary locations up on the top floor. You can see Dat stuck in behind a couple of reinforcements and ADS as well as a mirror window. So it's going to be a time killer here for Cowana. It's all about wasting time and then trying to catch them with the C4s as they try and look for the execute.
So Nath is under a bit of pressure, but not as much as he instantly was before. However, look at all of those bodies that were trying to thread their way from office across Blue Bar. They knew exactly what he wanted to hold on to, and Cowana aren't going to let him have it. Sloth on an Ash is a bit of a force, does not actually live up to his name. More the kind of credence he's been able to put across all of the leagues he's played in. He is so aggressive on his attack or on his defense usually, where he'll try and habitually find his way out of every single window or anything he can throw himself through. Melusi might slow that a little with their addition into this play, but with Funkers trying to just dig in on the opposite side of Sek and see if they can keep those cross angles covered, well, at this point it seems like they're just going to try and force and funnel their way through the kitchen door.
I feel like Sloth has just gotten both of his drones, drove them straight into the site and been like, oh, guys, sorry, man, I'm out of drones, you know. I really can't help you anymore. I'm just going to have to, you know, run at the site and just try and gun some people for us. Oh, I'm so sorry, boys. Absolutely the game plan I'd be looking for here, but realistically, you don't want your Ash lying down on drones. I say that, he's doing that on someone else's drone at the minute, so I think what he's doing now is just lying down and providing that flank watch for his team, so they can start getting themselves into position to look for this execute instead of having to sit on drones. Grizzly's going to find himself down to Dats pretty early. He finds himself out of window and out of service. Grizzly out of action and out of service in this round. A second wonder shot lands onto Gorgona back through the kitchen doorway. Wonderful start as Sloth falls down as well. There is a plank going down in the smoke here, but it's a 2 versus 5. And something tells me 2v5s, even in a post plant, don't tend to go the way that you want. The Yak steps up and finds one back for his team, but there's still 2 more outside to go. A 4 versus 2 fluke.
You cannot let that man get away with that, and you cannot let this fall into the hands of Cowana at this moment in time. They duck in the smoke, and they've absolutely done him there. To nutmeg, all nutmegs. They're running out either side in either place, but they can't quite find, well, both of them. Vonkers gets one and Kayak's down. There is the attempt on the defuse, and there's the savior. But, well, I was going to say,
the down.
Yeah, the down, not the out. And Nave's there to, well, get the diffuser. More important than Jonker for now.
I mean, dicey for a couple of moments there, I think, for both sides. So I was surprised that diffuser still managed to continue going down when you can just step into the smoke with an Alder and just spray and hope for the best, and almost potentially playing spoiler from the window. But I guess unfortunately for Cowana, MnM are well rehearsed in what to do in situations like this. That's 2 rounds on the defensive side. And let's not forget, in APAC actually yesterday, we touched on the success of Coastline for defenders over there. 32% win rate. Don't look so pretty. Whereas here, MnM are making it look pretty comfortable.
I think that's it too, is if you're always going to talk about this map and you're going to talk about the possibilities of what it offers teams and what it offers their aggression. I cited before, the UK can be aggro on, well, any map. You look at, it seems like Na'Vi or X-Secret and all of these kind of well-known rosters on the bigger scenes. It is everywhere in the UK. It's ever present and unfortunately ever pertinent on every single map, but Coast is one that feeds that beast. It is built and thrives in and amongst aggression.
What I love about seeing 2 teams from the same region facing off against each other is, coming into CL, sure, there were probably a few scrims going on. They're not official matches. They're not the same feel to them or the same pressure players are under, some feast or famine in either environment. Whereas between these 2 teams, not just that they have played each other a lot around the UKIN season, also consider the fact that these players all know each other given their history, playing around each other on different teams throughout the UK. They've jumped across different teams, thinking of teams like Vex, Demise, things like that over the past as well. Some of them, even now, facing off against each other, will have played together in the past. So for me, it's that innate knowledge of how can we surprise the other side, given it feels like they know almost everything about us.
I think that's a kind of good flag to fly. Obviously, there's a little bit of bias with the UK Massive, but we are a bit ever-present right now. I believe, are 20% of the players across CL this time around. You obviously have players like Astro as well, who did, once upon a time, play alongside Kayak. I think the team was maybe... trying to remember all of the old history now from one of the old... times. Sunny Carries, they played together, Kayak and Astro.
We need to pull Demo on for 30 seconds and have him just come be the encyclopedia of UK history for us. He is the UK Siege historian, basically. That's the way he is.
He knows it all, obviously. Big shout out to all of those, like XR Troika as well, and obviously our main man with the shiny head Ace, who's currently busying away in Latin America being looked after by Jackie. But it's the thing about our scene is you've got Astro, you've got obviously Blur as well, who used to play alongside these players. We have so many of this brimming with talent, and unfortunately before this we had a history of these teams would break apart and split up, which means, okay, they know how to play with each other, they know how to play against each other. Here is these two teams that have kind of stuck it out a little bit.
Yeah, and this is the one thing, the bit of advice I feel that is given by casters, by the coaches, by others just generally looking in from the outside is, don't split up now. Like, feel free to sit together for more than a few weeks or a few months and give it a good go. And I completely acknowledge here that with Challenger League being like a year apart now, it's quite staged out because of how EUL is playing out, where the finals are the place where the second place Challenger League team gets to face off against the 9th place EUL team. First place CL swaps places with the 10th place EUL, for example, things like that. It is a long draw. I completely get it if teams do want to start thinking, well, we've got to make changes whilst we can to be as strong as we can. But there's a lot of merit to staying together. And I think for these guys, you're going to see that really starting to shine through.
Yeah, if you want a bit of perspective as to how these two teams did actually meet up during the UCAN season, it was the first or second Playday where they ended up on Cafe. And a lot of it went to attacker wins in the favor of Cowana, who took the game in as a 7-2. They started on their attack and they took, I believe, 4 of them with only 2 successful defenses. On a map like Cafe, it kind of gets you thinking, okay, are MnM the team that is standing up more? Let's have a look. Let's have a breakdown and let's see if they can do better than their previous record.
I know that on paper, everyone's been really hyping MnM up as being one of the top 2 teams to make it through to either the playoffs or, of course, that auto promo spot into EUL.
Yep.
And I think because you look across the team and you see the names that are on here, a bunch that have played, of course, with Crazy before. Nathan, a massive name absolutely in the scene as well, looking towards Fonkers and his experience with Team Secret. There's just a lot of experience, both at this level and even in some cases slightly above, it feels like, at points too, that collectively makes them a very, very terrifying side. Whereas you look across to Cowana, you see a lot of players that have played in Tier 3 in the UK national scene for a long time, players that prior to that we didn't really know all that much about. I completely get why MnM are the team to be bigging up here. But something just kind of rings in the back of my head and says, keep a very, very close eye on Cowana this season, because they might have turned out to be the dark horse. There is a reason why they made it through those open qualifiers. There is a reason why people are still excited about them, but I think maybe not excited enough. Keeping a very close eye on how they play across all their play days.
I think the thing about Cowana as well is they are proof of the concept of stick together and keep going. Okay, sure. They've had a couple of roster changes over the time, as I mentioned before. Rendy was the most recent one, and they also dropped players like Omos before that. They also have dropped a couple of coaches when a season hasn't quite gone the way they wanted it to, or locked off on qualifiers, yada yada. But either way, this is a team that the core of them, that structure of them, of course Grizzly, Gorgona, and Anarchic, has just kept on it, kept going, and kept trying to find themselves in this position where they went, okay, they're kind of unknown in our scene, to they've gone almost unbeaten, to now they're unknown on CL, but I think, as you said, there's a bit of a future here.
Looking towards the setups in this round, I'm mildly curious. We're seeing only the single C4 come out on Jonker. Otherwise, everyone else is playing alternative gadgets, whether it's the proximity alarm on the Oryx through to the impacts on Alibi rather than a shield, which is quite interesting. I think a lot of that just comes down to the roam play you want to see out of those 3 members, the Oryx, the Alibi, and the Jaeger all together. You're, of course, going to see Jonker playing arguably, air quotes, around, well, off-site or around the site. Sometimes on this site, you'll see them play inside a kitchen, look to catch C4s as they're coming through VIP. Others, you stick on the site itself and look to catch them as they try and take vertical control. But it looks like Cowana are aware of that, are being very slow and patient about this one. Almost everyone gathered out towards the west side, and I have zero doubt Hookah is going to be part of their intentions for this round. Part of the idea, the part of control they need before trying to look for an execute.
Out of all the games on this group towards these two teams, this one is probably holding the most weight. As we said, there's a lot of backstory behind this one, but at the same time, you ask either of these teams who their biggest competitors are in this group, they're probably going to answer each other. They know what each other's team is capable of, and yes, okay, we had a great performance from Penta earlier. The Boars were able to take some points too, but to these two, it's a UK showdown.
Game Master Showdown. The rematch is probably the best way of looking at it, as Jonka's C4 finally comes singing out, almost catches onto Sloth, but he walks away at about 20 HP. He'll be looking at that, seeing half a leg missing him, and saying, small handicap, just a minor setback for me in this round. I say that, it's a major one. Jonka picking up Sloth and Gorgona trading back immediately after inside of office, even a smoke canister being committed by Funkus.
Well, now they're able to get a little bit of a control and get a response to the frag going out of their favor. After being gifted the one very early in the first round and not being able to take it, this third, on what could be the weaker site in that MnM holds, should be the one that Cowana can really start to dig in and live up to the expectations and names that not only we've kind of put forward, but they definitely have for themselves after their run as well, taking out some of the big potential names from other regions and finding themselves here a little bit late, a little bit tattered, a little bit tired, but in no way downtrodden. Dats wants to cycle his way back round to office, but is concerned about the watch from above, so slow and steady and watch the default plant spot because the smoke canisters came in, and last time, well, the diffuser went down and the attackers went out.
Grizzly was watching the angle from above and he pulled away a couple of seconds before Dat started this rotation through. So I suspect right now that MnM have zero idea that he's here. If they do, they can get someone around. They can try and grenade him out. In fact, the pings are coming out. Grenade comes through and Dats is down to literally 1 HP. But he's not dead. Finally gets collected by Gorgona. Man, that was almost so unfortunate for the side of Cowana. They could have been disrupted, but the Yak gets the plant down. It's into a 3 versus 3, and Panic Station's no doubt now being hit for MnM.
The Yak's on attack, and that's 2 plants, 2 rounds. Can they lock it down now? They've got 3 members and an even body count. They're close on the angle with flash canisters and potentially some bolts still in the pocket of an R-kick. I haven't really seen too many smokes go off at least, but they have those covers and those rotations. 1 smoke is all that he has left, and well, now they also have 1 less player. Grizzly dropped from above as a big rotation comes out. There's the hop out, and there goes 1 more for the body count of Gorgona, but he's going to have to lock it off as an ace if he wants to keep this round in his favor. Here's the diffuser being tricked. Here's it being planted, and sees the bullets go through his forehead.
No,
there's not enough time. He got it, Gorgona! Well, that's a round.
That was a surprising come down from you there, Fluke. I thought you'd come back in and be like, what a beast, but no, you're just like, well.
We'll just sit in the moment of that. We'll just sit in the moment of the fact that
bask in the glory of Gorgona.
I mean, obviously a 4K clutch threw his life away in a slow-mo sensibility of, I'm going to just jump out there, sacrifice everything, Rambo style. Cowana take a round.
Crazy how close it's come down to, and in fact I think all 3 rounds so far have had something so exciting to offer. The 3v5 from MnM in which they didn't lose a single man. The previous round, round number 2, the 2v5 still getting away with the plant and then being clapped on by MnM, and that final round, Gorgona from outside the window trading himself for the guy who was going for the defuse. Incredible. Really exciting stuff. This is what we wanted to see out of a matchup like this, and we're only 3 rounds in. We potentially got at least 9 more to go, and I'm living for it.
I do have to give compliments to MnM's response. Obviously, they realized where the diffuser was, and the rotation upstairs to get that kill, pinch from beneath, the jump out that instantly followed with the secondary pinch inside as well. MnM was step for step brilliant, but it's hard to stop a man who throws his life away for the diffuser.
You got to rate a man like that. You got to keep him. Don't let him get away.
The thing about Cowana as well is one of the frequencies about this team is who steps up to save a round. We've seen Gorgona clutch out rounds. We've seen Grizzly get shot before he gets close to the building. We've seen it happen a lot with them, but they always have this ability where, against all odds, in a similar way to how they often defy people's expectation of the team, their players defy expectations of reason, sense, science, and physics to pull out these plays.
Well, it carries on as aggressively as it started, with that opening kill coming inside 12 seconds of the round. Like, it's ridiculous how early these trades are coming in, but as I mentioned, you want to get at these windows, you want to be causing some grief for the other side. And for quite a while, we did see the Jaeger of Dats lurking around here. I think now with all these drones crawling around his feet and a couple of members of Cowana looking to drop into Penthouse Theatre, he has backed himself away. But backed himself away where to is my next question. I'd love to see where he's currently set up right now. There he is. He's crawled all the way back up the Cool Vibe stairs. And is looking to threaten into Hookah. So he's done his job, he's wasted a bit of time, and has now got himself safely back with his team. Good stuff from Dats.
Well, now as they want to lock down against Hookah and stop the barrage that might come through, obviously what we've seen the past couple rounds has been a heavy attempt at getting the diffuser down and going from there. Even when it comes at a little bit of the cost of the pressure and, well, a life or two, they have stuck through and through to the idea of get the yak in, get the yak down, and then then we'll go from there. And I'm curious to see if we get a little bit more of the aggression, a little bit more of the lead-in as it starts to live up to it. They're going for a three-body push, but instantly rebuffed and instantly repelled on the opposite side. And Arkic's down, but Sloth finds his first since the re-host.
Run away, retreat. There's a smoke grenade right there as they all peel their way back down 90 and look to rotate out towards luggage. In fact, that looks to be Sloth's plan. Great shot from Gorgona through the drone hole is going to catch out Nathan, or Nath, on the other side as he calls himself. A man that can't pronounce his T's and his H's. Sloth steps in and finds one. Kayak another. It's a 3 versus 1, and Dats, the hero of the early round, who retreated back, kept himself alive and did everything he should have, finds himself in a 1 versus 3 with 45 seconds to go. Cowana, surely you can't throw this one away as well.
We say surely, and I guess we'll just have to hold our breath and watch the final 40. They are droning ahead, and, well, Kayak's down for the plant, but doesn't get caught on the rotation there on the side. There's the spray, and there's an important pick, and, well, now there's the post-plant. They're looking for the open hole there that they previously made from VIP, and they're in the middle of a pinch in a tricky situation, it's fair to say. Well, it turned into an impossible situation with Gorgona, who over the past 2 rounds has become beyond a force.
Something else is the only attack you can assign to this guy. Great 4 rounds you've seen there, sat at 2 apiece now. 2 to MnM, of course, 2 to Cowana. No other third team taking part in this game. As we return back to Hookah and Billiard, I have no idea. I was just like, well, 2 apiece, 2 to MnM, 2 to Cowana. And I was like, where the hell am I going with this? I was like, there's no third team here.
If there could be a third team, what third team would you want in this showdown?
The Fluke and Des team. We are the onlookers, the spectators.
Like the UK Caster Showdown, where they get an extra team.
You mean where everyone has been bodied by XR Troy?
Yeah, because he's just picked pros. They told me.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
I know you were a bit salty about this. You turned up with like content creators, like cosplayers.
It was hilarious.
Have some fun.
Yeah.
And he turns up with pros, right?
Yeah. Do you know who his original 5th was? Apparently he had an original 5th, and it was Hosty. Was the original 5th.
He's currently playing for Rogue.
He's currently playing for Rogue. And then UBUK, we have these showdowns in the UK, and UBUK went to him and they went, yeah, you can't just be a team, like, you can't just choose players. So he went, all right, fine, someone on Twitter, let's just get him in. But good luck when you've got to face him. If any pros are listening,
I'm avoiding that for as long as I can, trust me.
Build a team, UK pros, if you're listening and want to slap XR Troika, Des might need you at some point.
Yeah, look, being real, Ollie has clearly tasted the sweet nectar of victory against Tim and has thought, you know what, I've got to taste that against everyone else then, which is why he tried so hard against you. So the only way it's going to die is if I turn up and go real hardcore. So actually I agree with you. This is a call to arms.
Yeah.
Any pros, T1, T2, heck even T3, if you want to participate and you're from the UK, get in my DMs and we're going to slap XR Troika silly. That's the game plan.
John is fuming right now. We've taken this idea of community nights and completely blown it to the side. Wow, we're at 2 minutes 38 and nobody is dead yet.
Where does the time go? Doesn't it fly when you're talking rubbish about show matches between casters and not about the actual pros in the game? Unbelievable professionalism here.
Yeah, well, talking of professionalism, Iana doesn't quite catch the bullets on the rotating person there, and I think that's one of the first confrontations we've seen between 2 players where they haven't really been able to hit the mark. Even if they've seen each other and not got the kill, they've usually at least been able to put Graze and pressure on, but Nath, I think, assuming it was them who rotated via the bars, kind of lucky to escape without anything scathed.
Nath scathed, not quite here. It is a peaceful start, I agree with you. The last 3 rounds that we've seen, 2 minutes 40, 1 minute 45, and 2 minutes 48 for the opening kills. So we're about to pass that mark in the second round where things were peaceful. Admittedly, on this site, the couple of times that we've seen it has looked very aggressive. Both have been inside 20 seconds with their opening kills. But that, I think, namely has come down to people being at windows, early aggressive scraps. Whereas it feels like Cowana here have realized, okay, we're going to have Dats constantly in our face. let's just peel back a little bit, get on the drones, make sure we know what's going on, and don't feel like we have to go too aggressive too early. Nathan's now an endangered species downstairs in lobby with the drones running past him. He's going to have to back himself away inside of security, but might find himself trapped here, actually. If someone's looking to take control of office and play below, he could be in hot water, but no, I don't think no one's there. So, in fact, we'll be safe for now.
The worry here could obviously be Cowana, who's been so consistent and on this catch, and he's watching that rotation, so Nate's got more than a gunfight ahead of them. In the meantime, they're trying to steadily away their control of Aqua and luggage. They know what they want to do. They've tried to do it a couple times, and it's only been successful once. And that was when they were already heftily in favor of the body count. So can they force it with a minute left and a 5-on-5 situation? I believe that's what MnM have tried to shift to here. They don't want to pick the early gunfights because last time they didn't really go their favor. So instead they're going to say, try and get the diffuser down. We know you wanna, we know you're gonna, and we're just going to gun you.
Gorgona's actually rotated all the way up north, and Nathan is still below here. Has he got a C4, actually? Malusi can, of course, bring that C4 out. I don't think he's going to have it here. No, he will not. Somewhat surprised. Thought that if he's playing downstairs, that would be part of the play. But does have impacts, which, of course, he can double toss up and potentially do enough damage to down someone or outright kill them. Sloth outright killing too. This is the Sloth that we all know and love. Steps in and finds a double kill, and the plant isn't going down in the default spot. It's tucked away in this little corner here. They will succeed on that. And now all Cowana have got to do is pull themselves back to be in a spot of comfort. It's going to be an attempt from Dats, but Sloth with a triple kill in this round. Nathan's got it all to do in a 1 versus 3. Yes, Anarchic is down. He's going to be revealed outside, and they are watching Sloth. A massive round from him with 4 kills coming in. Round number 5. And as this game has gone by, I'd say Cowana have really warmed into it here, Fluke.
I mean, 4 objective plays in a row is rare to see. A map like Coastline where you're going full aggro and we're seeing completely different setups from the defense in terms of we want to meet you at the door to, okay, bring it onto the plant. We'll take you in the final 30 seconds. Either way, as you said, Cowana, they're the team that have warmed into this. They're the team that have kind of pulled themselves up and gone, okay, well, this is what they're doing, so this is how we're going to respond. And currently, MnM, they're a little bit adrift on their defenses. Things seem to keep slipping past them, or in the case of Sloth in that previous round, through them. And then from that point onwards, it seems the connectivity, the sticking togetherness of this roster we talked about before, where it turns from pressure shouting into perfect communication, a symphony of getting the diffuser down. Well, it's kind of on rhythm right now for Cowana.
I did wonder if we would finally see Sloth step up at some point and really take a round by the scruff of the neck and drag it through. And, well, those 4 kills coming in the last round meant he only had 2 prior to that. So it's been a quiet game for him, but I'm glad he's finally settled into his rhythm. I'd say multiple members of Cowana are yet to really do that. Outside of Gorgona's incredible round with the 4K back in round number 3, and Sloth doing pretty much the same just a second ago. Gives you questions on where it's going to come from here. Where are they going to find these incredible rounds? Who's going to really step up for them and swing things back in their favor? And I'm not saying it's not currently in their favor, but I'm just worried about who's really going to stand up and make themselves heard in what is a massive UK matchup.
Ties to the point as well before where I said on Covana's roster you have Cowana, he can show up, or Sloth can show up, or Christy can show up. It jumps between the members of the roster, sure. In MnM, you also have that same possibility and capability. There's a huge amount of experience on this roster. There are players that on their opening day as well. So, you know, you think of when users first joined MnM, the bits he did. You think about Nath, who yet again has decided doors his point of success. And, well, how most of his kills, I think, have been inside to outside the building.
Like I say, you got to challenge early on this map. It's the way it's going to be played, else you just give far too much room to the other side. Now, they may have killed the buck here. It's not going to be world ending given we are on the kitchen site. You can still make use of the sledge to start smashing that floor apart. Admittedly, it's slightly greater risk with all these C4s coming through on the other side, of which I believe there is at least 2. So there's that to go for you. The buck is a little bit safer. Thank you very much for bringing that up. There are indeed 3 C4s on side. So this time round, the Malusi bring in the C4 instead of the impacts. Again, because of the vertical play and the denial, they're looking to bring along once we finally see Cowana get control of the top floor. But given everyone's currently on the ground floor, I'm thinking, do they know? Are they aware of the amount of C4s coming against them here? And are just thinking, that vertical ground, deadly. Let's not even bother. Let's stay nice and lateral and try and push in horizontally instead.
And we've seen Cowana be able to pull together these pushes very last minute. They seem to do all of their intel very well done. As the kind of way that you see a good steak prepared on the NA timelines of Twitter, that's what Cowana are trying to bring. But I guess in our sense, it's more a well-made beans on toast. And they're ready to try and cook it up in this kitchen.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
cooking something up in there. Whether or not the whole thing sets on fire, the round sets on fire, or the food does is yet to be decided. The Grenades family is going to come singing out here as they try and push their way in. With all this wall open, they can get contested, but Sloth, man, the dude's a demon. He's sped right into sight, gets the down onto Jonker. It's going to finish him off. So they should be able to get a plant in here with all these smokes coming through. Sadly, nothing to be seen outside of the mirror for Kayak. He knows it should be safe. Nathan with the triple kill. Sloth are going to strike back and bring him down. But this has been a huge round for Nathan. Dat strikes back. It's a 1v1 with 50 seconds still on the clock. It's Dats versus Sloth. Could you ask for a better showdown, Fluke?
I mean, Jaeger versus Ash. And, well, Ash suffering a little bit, but Sloth, for him, he plays in a sense where it doesn't really matter. I think he's probably got his health bars turned off at this point. He seems to thrive in confrontation, but Dats is a very intelligent player who also loves confrontation. So I guess it's down to who wants to pick this firefight first. They are both aware, both able, but only one can win, and this time the Sloth was too slow.
Sloth was a little bit too slow. And what I will give to Sloth there, the intent was very, very clear. Flashbang him, run across the breach and look to come around to the left-hand side. I understand. But a little too keen, I think. Started running before the flashbang had even gone off, before the screen was even white, he was dead. And it was like, hey, you're a little bit keen there, buddy. Let's just dial it back. Live up to your namesake a little and just slow down a little bit.
Turn of the half, a 3-3 split on this map, and well, I guess it's still for me down to MnM to try and prove some points. However, if you're looking at Coastline, you're looking at your attacks on Coastline, you're looking at a little bit more comfort for some teams. They enjoy this. MnM historically, when they were X-Crazy and even before that, were a roster that enjoyed being on their attacks and being in this position and being in this aggressive kind of setup, so this could be a good possibility for them to just regain a bit of a hold on Cowana. And, well, Grizzly's already off to a start of smashing himself through walls.
Now, I do need to raise a suggestion here for those of you at home that maybe aren't too sure what happens now Cowana are on the defense. If you've watched Na'Vi play in Pro League, you'll of course know they picked up 2 new players in Blur and Joe. On the side of Cowana, we basically have Joe. I can't decide if it's Joe 2.0 or Joe 0.5. We've got Sloth. The man is heralded for his ability to be at every window and every single doorway at the start of a round and look to just cause absolute chaos. And I think with Gorgona playing here on the Vigil, you're going to see a very similar setup coming out of both of them. You're reinforcing backwards through that wall. It's like Spider-Man on the reinforce. What was that?
Yeah, he's just, you know, testing some new things out, trying some new things on Coast, really testing Siege.
But been testing my flexibility recently. He's got to flex on stream.
Yeah, you got to try and, if you're going to flex against any team, it may as well be the other team that's from your region, you know?
Why not? Anyone
They're
else?
just trying to impress you.
Yeah.
I think.
What did I say? He's at a window, and you know what? It's not even like Dat's trying to peek through the small slat. No, he opens the whole thing up and he's like, come on then, who wants some?
Yeah, Sloth just, and again, he's found a secondary window. Pops a very filthy little bullet hole there, but they're aware of it. They're aware of Sloth, and the thing is, sometimes even when you're aware of him, he's still able to pull off these movements, these situations. So you kind of just have to, in a way, meet fire with fire and try and burn him before he sets himself on fire, throws himself at you, and finds a 2k before you finally put him down.
What I will give to MnM is not trying to entertain it there. I think a big mistake we see some teams making in EUL against Joe on Na'Vi is being willing to almost either challenge him or just think, oh, surely he won't be at the door this time round. No, he is always there, and it is the same story for Sloth. So being mindful of that, being mindful of he will definitely be aggressive. We know he's very, very proficient at doing so in those situations. Let's not give him the opportunity to shine and put us at a massive disadvantage. So big props coming through here. Finally, he's going to strike onto Dats. I was going to say big props for being nice and passive, and to be fair to them, for 80 seconds, they kept him at bay, but Sloth will always find his target.
Well, with the Ash off the board after being the clutch out on the previous round, Dats just has to sit back and try and offer the drone support that can be provided from those pre-placed. Sloth is keeping a BDI and making sure that he has a lockdown on any emotions here, but a minute 20 is plenty time for them to try and reevaluate above. The C4 pops under the chair. Nothing really comes of that, unfortunately, and Fonkers and Jonker are free to, well, rhyme and try and do some crime, if the crime is killing anybody that's inside the kitchen beneath. Kayak pulls away alongside the smoke. They're not going to try and get into too much trouble, but Grizzly, you think of this hatch, you think of the possibilities, you think easy for catching that.
Well, of course, with the area stairway being towards White Stairs, you'd assume they'd have like a drone or something lurking out that way to catch movements like this. And this is exactly it. You can't watch all of this. Sure, by all means, go and put a drone, sat watching a hatch. It could turn out to be a massive waste of time. Finds the second. Yonka going to strike back onto Gorgona, which finally puts the Vigil out of commission. But now it's about wondering what more damage can be done up here on the top floor. User's aware of all these movements, all these shenanigans coming out of the side of Cowana down to the south, and he's going to push and try and challenge. Doesn't even see him. No, he doesn't. Finally gets the shot. And clearly, like two ships in the night, they were about to pass each other. But Sloth, a little too slow on the reaction there.
Well, Grizzly's been able to pull away and find a bit of solace, but with 20 seconds left, all he's doing is resetting himself up to try and apply the pressure here. There's a bit of cover and a short smoke canister that doesn't get all the way down. A swing with a shotgun is a big miss, unfortunately. And well, Anarchic's just going to try and get close. Swing on anyone that might just be on the other side of the door. In the meantime, there's going to be a defuse coming just underneath him, saying, Bait, come on, come for me. I've got low ammo, but we got the cover from Lamborghini doorway, and we got that man down too, Cowana! Do you like that silence as well? I like just basking at it.
I think so.
You bask in it, you know? You enjoy it.
It's like when the moment's so sweet, you've got to just let it lie and appreciate
Yeah.
it. Although, given the setup that came through at the end there, I think we really should have screamed his name a little bit there. That was beautiful. Counter diffuser play coming out of the side of the defenders. In my mind there, when that's down and you're outside the service entrance, that is so difficult to defuse safely unless you can kill everyone or get someone jumping out windows. And they did have someone, I think, run out of lobby and kill one. But to then have a shotgun player playing sentry on the doorway whilst the guy behind you diffused, one, good body blocking, two, hyper aggressive, but I completely appreciate it because it worked wonders for Cowana. Another great and crazy round.
I think one of the things about body blocking in this game that we saw earlier on was Cowana's clutch, was him throwing himself over and somehow threading the bullet like Angelina Jolie wanted. But I would say slightly less glamorous.
Ooh, okay. Well, the rounds don't get any less spicy, it seems, ladies and gents, including having a Christmas tree being built up around this pillar inside 90 hallway. Okay. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. Normally see them slightly more spaced out than that on this map.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're expecting, obviously, very little pressure towards Aqua, or enough pressure where they don't worry about things being hucked all the way through towards Hookah side from there. That's another place you often see it, just to stop your smoke being put under such immediate pressure. And, well, I guess they're expecting more pressure from the rooftop. Sloth. He's trying to find any fight he can in any sense of direction, and also hunting and sniffing for drones like truffles, but none have shown. It's the wrong season, and Grizzy's there to kind of say, pull him away. There's a man on our Lamborghini.
Charles, there's a horrible man outside.
He's right.
He's scratching the Lamborghini.
Well, let's shoot him in the face, shall we?
Charles, get the hunting rifle. Summon the hounds.
Ooh, Sloth does almost get caught, stuffed, and put on the wall of the fancy focus. Well, he tries it again, swings on the opposite side, and finally, they've put him on the endangered species list and, well, got him mounted.
Got him mounted. You can just imagine Sloth's head just mounted in your bedroom on a trophy, smiling at you, just knowing that it's your spawn feature or something. God, it'd be horrible. He made a grave mistake there in trying to double peek back the same angle, and Jonko was more than happy to take his head clean off, ripped it clean off his shoulders, and left him headless on the ground. Either way, 5 versus 4, a minute and 45 still left to play. Has kind of come down to that initial scrap around the main lobby entrance, and outside of that, nothing really to shout home about, to be honest, Fluke.
No, and I think that's the thing about what we're seeing from MnM so far is they want to try and do the cool, calm, and calculated, but it's hard when you're up against a team like Cowana who are so freewheeling and risky. The difference between Kavana's take is, yeah, sure, they would calculate and reevaluate, but they would generally do it internally. They would physically take over the space, physically lock out other rooms, and then go from there. MnM, they're slow to get into the building. They want to try and do as much from the outside as possible, and with a team like Cowana who are so consistently moving, yes, you can catch them from time and time again, but it means that when you try to apply the pressure in these situations, as we saw in the previous round or this one, well, things become a little bit sparse to the wire.
I'm so curious about these Kite Electroclaws, by the way. Very rarely do you ever see those two walls either side of Hookah doorway being electrified. They are reinforced, although you normally accept that the attacking teams are never going to get them open, therefore, why bother? But here, clearly, it's something they are very, very afraid of, as they're still trying to burn through them by the looks of it, but nothing is to be found. So they will stay closed. That shield will stay intact. This makes it all the more difficult for the side of MnM to burst that one out unless Dats can push his way up the stairs. Surely now that call has come through that someone is coming pushing. Junker's going to find another. Nace in with that plant going down the ground. Surely the call came through that he was there, but apparently not. Kayak steps up big with a triple kill and comes back in. Yonker comes in with a triple of his own, so it's going to shut down the Yak's impact on this round. 2v1, and Arkic got a lot to do here. If he can stop them getting his plant down, it could all go to plan. But he's still, like I say, got more work to do. Challenges onto big window, but Yuzu's like Spider-Man comes in upside down, strikes him down, and that'll be around going to MnM.
It was so well played by MnM there. They had a lot of cover done in all the important bits, and you actually saw it on the rotation that started with the push up cool vibes. It was a fantastic opening pick that everything relied on. And then you saw a body coming in from Kitchen and you think that's theirs, but then Jonker has the crossfire from Sunrise to be able to catch that. The pair of them can then apply the pressure onto Kayak and finally force him out. Sure, they lost a lot of bodies and didn't leave a huge amount up to the clock, and it could have very easily gone one or other ways with just one or of these many gunfights being picked off in the opposite direction, but sometimes you've got to make calculated risks, and this time the maths added up.
I gotta mention, by the way, you know, a couple of rounds ago when an Arkic was playing that turret warrior on service entrance doorway with the shotgun,
Yes.
He didn't actually kill anyone.
No.
He was just stood there looking outside like, what a nice day we're having.
It was, you know,
You keep defusing. Yes, carry on.
just-
But trust me, it's safe out here. It's totally
he was
safe.
just trying to keep him safe. I think that's the thing about Anarchic as well, as his role within the team. He doesn't really have to be too hyperextended aggro. He's obviously playing a lot of support operators and a lot of support positions. Usually, Kayak slightly changed that up in what Kayak brings to a team, which is huge history, huge skill in support.
And the fact that he's a massive IGL for them too. This is why it's not just the sake of hyping up Kayak because of his name and it enables to go the yak attack and things like that. Not at all. He is very well regarded as a stalwart of the UK scene. You speak to anyone, they know who he is, they know the teams that he's been on, they know what he brings to the game. It's not a player that gets himself in trouble or starts any beef, as Twitter would suggest for a lot of players in the UK, admittedly. I think for him it's just about getting his head down and being a solid IGL for his team, and I do really rate him, to be fair. A lot of respect for him.
I think that's the thing as well, is even when some of our I'm going to say more controversial tweeters. I'm going to say, for us, passionate tweeters, who maybe will have a bit of back and forth banter against Cowana. They still go, you know, who cares about Cowana? But we like the yak. Kayak's all right. So
he's all right. He's okay.
They know who I'm talking about.
Screw him. Well, we have a lot of questionable tweeters in the UK at points. Some who are retired and some who are still not. Either way, 45 seconds in, a big focus from MnM looking towards the northeast here, pushing into service entrance with users playing on the kitchen window. And given we are, of course, playing Blue Bar and Sunrise, it is pretty apt to assume that you need control of kitchen. We saw in APAC a great example of a couple of teams going for a plant inside of Sunrise. They'd have one or two players alive inside a kitchen to hold the long angles, and there was very little the defenders could do except first fight for kitchen and then try and go for the site. So taking control of this, absolutely crucial for the attacking team here.
Oh, that was a late shield placement and kind of just in time, really, as the firefight starts to come against them and Sloth is able to slightly hold on to the corner and then pull away. Holding this site and having all of the central wall, well, just soft. No angles, no sight lines, no eye lines, and just kind of keeping Sloth in there. You don't see that too often.
No, normally you would open up that bottom side so you can challenge it from lobby later on into the round when the plant is trying to come from the south side, but I guess here, not that they knew this was going to happen, with no challenge coming in from the south side, it's nothing to really worry about. Gorgona's even holding inside of office in case that becomes a thing, which means Sloth can play pretty freely here, especially since Kayak is also holding pool entrance. That's where he just found that opening kill.
Well, now as a body starts to fall and the distance starts to separate, the teams, well, they want to start applying this pressure. Dug in on the corner, the smoke has those ADSs left, and well, they need to apply it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, the moral of the story might be how the Yak was able to just kind of put his feet up for this one, digging on the close corners. Here comes a push from the opposite side, and there goes the entrance. And Arkic stuck in and finds a double, but they do pick up Kayak. In the meantime, the corner's dropped, and the corner is Usus, who leads in with aggression on the opposite hand. There's a cover, there's a loss, and there's a 3 versus 1, but Sloth is a little bit too far away and a little bit at arm's length here.
And Lucy going off as well. The Banshee wailing in his ears and notifying his team what's going on. There's that long angle. Sloth put down to about 20 HP, but not dead. And Yuzu's still pretty low here. 15 seconds to go, and he's got to find 3 kills. Going to opt to try and commit to go for the plant, at which Grizzly's going to step around the corner, and I'm pretty sure blast him in the head in rapid time. In fact, no, wins the one, gets a triple kill, but can't win the one against Gorgona, who closes things out. Really good round for Cowana there. Really got to, commend them for the setup. 2 playing inside of Sunrise, 1 inside of Office, Sloth behind a shield inside of the hallway, like covered by magnets. That was a really hard break coming out of MnM, and I completely appreciate why the actual game plan was, let's just rush down cool vibes and hope for the best.
I think that's one of those bold plays as well that, to be fair, we've seen from Cowana. At the same time, think of the times where it was just like, Sloth's hit, okay, now he's in the site and he's killed 2 people. It's a lead-in, it's a step, and it's an aggressive tip of a spear that these teams need, not just for the possibility of getting the kills, but because of the wake that it opens for other movements to happen. Previously, just before all of that play started to kick off, I was talking about how Kayak was dug in, had the cover, then all of his attention had to be swung away, and then that allowed users to try and strike. Again, Siege, stories of if one gunfight had gone the other way, could the round have been different? Sure, but unfortunately it's how it went, and now you find yourself back again, 1 round down, and against the one where you, to be fair, got the diffuser down, and then unfortunately it went a little bit awry.
RX returning once more as well. It wasn't, I don't want to say it was game-changing last round, but it did find them a pretty critical kill into VIP. Once we saw the RX come up inside of Office, leap up the hatch, swing across into luggage, and find that kill all the way across the map. I imagine this time around, you're probably going to find MnM are at least a little bit more aware, given what happened to them in round number 7. And it was on this very site that it happened. So for them, they will know what went wrong last time. They'll know what to correct. Let's just hope that they don't have another crazy fight over the service entrance plant like we did the last time round.
I think that's the control aspect that MnM are looking for as well with Cowana, is their freewheeling around coastline. The danger donut that it is offers so many routes and routes for you to be able to dig in and find yourself rutted and otherwise unable to be drawn out of there. Grizzly, however, instantly pulled apart, as I believe he was still around the Accra office side, maybe just got caught out by a plucky drone. No, the double window was what befell him as he danced around on the billiards table, and Kayak in the meantime is doing his best to keep the cover, with Gorgona working the same on the second floor, but it's actually Sloth who gets the man across the big double window. The nice shots come out in 1, but they're just going to leave Grizzly's body there as a bit of bait as Gorgona is locking it down, and perfect start for MnM has completely been pulled apart.
Is Sloth feeling okay? He has paused getting kills to go and res a teammate. That is not a very Sloth-esque thing to do, buddy. You got to live up to your namesake of just running forwards and trying to find kills. It did put them into a 5 versus 2 pretty quickly, but we've already seen what happened when MnM are down 2 men to the other side. They were in a 5 versus 3 back in round number 1 and managed to come back and win the whole thing with all 3 members still left alive. So let's not count them out completely yet. Yes, the circumstances have changed. They are the ones on the attack, but they've got a bit of time to play with here. From Cowana, by the looks of it, overwhelmingly, they have their members on site being very cautious of where these members are.
Popping beneath and seeing if anybody is paying enough attention, but I guess you've got time on your side and you have a lot of soft destruction and you're on a vertical site, so you can try and shepherd and force a bit of movement and a little bit of space. You only need sometimes a pocket, but you also might have the ability to blow someone up.
I swear it's twice he's done that now, where Kayak has been caught in the explosion of those charges and been damaged by them. I'm pretty sure his ears are ringing now. Sloth steps forward, finds one onto Funkers, and please tell me this third one gets Kayak down. I would have honestly wet myself. It would have been incredible. It's not going to happen, though. It wasn't quite in the right place. It's cool. Going a plane below instead. I think in this case, Kayak has said, boys, I've had enough. I'm out. Peace. You guys can deal with this vertical threat coming in. Yonkers is all by himself with 45 seconds to go. We know how these rounds tend to end.
Yeah, and sure, he's a great player and he's had some good moments, but it's so tough in this situation. You're only really able to force yourself in and against this as much as you can from above, and well, with 30 seconds, it's got to come down to the wire of, okay, I still have to make my way to point. I still have to try and put some points on the board. And they're firing back. Cowana are completely freewheeling again. They know and expect where it's going to come from. The smoke canisters stop any entrance from this side. May as well just pop him out of your misery. Gorgona, you put yourself 1 round away from taking this precious 3.
They do. This revenge tour coming up for Cowana. 1 round there from saying, look, this is why we should have been the ones to make it through to the grand final and get that spot from Yukin to get into Challenger League. And for MnM, Again, a team that everyone put in the top 3 and said they could very well make it. I said, Cowana, you look at the players, you might not know their names as well, but you have to be very, very cautious of what they can achieve. And here they're about to have a win against their nemesis, against MnM, and almost claim themselves to be, in CL, the best UK team, at least for now.
I guess it's kind of good that we see them are going against each other, because obviously they could have potentially ended up on the different sides of the brackets, depending on how things got seeded. I don't do the maths. That's down for other smart people than me. But you think about this group. You think about, sure, we didn't know that it was going to be 2 UK teams. One of them came through the open qualifiers. You've also got Penta in here as well, who are such a strong team, as demonstrated earlier this evening. For me, this going the way of one of these two is very precious, because a draw here across the board could spell a, not disaster. I think they're both still going to be in that top 4, but they don't want that. They want to be the number 1. And, well, now it might be that one of them has to fight for number 2.
It sounds a bit crazy, right? But the only thing you have to worry about in the group stages is not being the worst 2 teams. It sounds you haven't got to worry about being the best, just don't be the worst 2. And I sound really critical saying this, but be up below these 2 UK teams and below Penta. You've got the Boars, who we saw play earlier on, didn't do very well. We've seen August come out with some awful droning in their last game. And Be Kind, who had a very questionable first game against the Boars overall. They're both currently 2-0, by the way, August and Be Kind. So regardless of the results of this game, I don't think MnM or Cowana are going to feel too nervous about their position. They should still feel pretty comfortable that they can get out of the group. The biggest fear for me is what happens with seeding, because you will come up against teams in the other group. And my God, do you not want to get matched against teams like Gamma Gaming in your first game when you come out of the group stages?
100%. Well, Grizzly, slight bit of rotation underneath. Haven't had to step into the insane roles that you often fill because, well, Sloth is 13-6. So he's having an all right game there. Gorgona's not too much further behind. And I think that's the thing that, in a way, has been missing from MnM. They've been steady. They've been across the board. 4 of them have passed the 6-kill mark. And you think if they could just have one of these rounds go their way, one of these insane moments and clutches, maybe they might be able to find, you know, something. Because, again, time and time again, this has come down to these close moments. These 2K, 3K, 4K builds that just get more excel and more exciting and more other fancy words that describe when things just pick up a bit of pace. And so far, MnM, they haven't had any control of that pace.
Again, we're seeing Kayat bringing on the Kayat here, and the electrification this time isn't on the double wall leading inside of sight. It's actually on the VIP wall. The reason why keeping this one closed like this is so important is because when that gets opened up, you get a wonderful sightline from VIP all the way through Billiards, straight through to the back corner, and you can cut off any rotates through Aqua or anything like that. With this being kept closed due to the electrification, this means that they don't have as many angles to play off of. Things feel a little bit tighter, and the side of Cowana can play a little bit more freely. So you shouldn't see an Arctic, for example, getting pinned down here if they do eventually get that opened up.
Wow, 1:10, and MnM know that everything's quite vital. If I'm going to talk about players that haven't quite found their way in, Fonkus hasn't quite been bonkers this time around. Once upon a time, this was his starting team before he was on the secret roster that did so many bits, and you kind of always want him to go back to that glory.
Larkic knows it's time to piece the hell out, almost get sprayed down in the process as he did run across the angle from VIP by running across into the corridor. Still alive, however, and dropped a smoke grenade behind him as if to say thank you, but this is my leaving notes. I am no longer present. So now it's on to MnM with only 35 seconds to go to finally go for this execute. No one is dead. This has been the slowest round we've seen so far, Luke.
Yeah, but it's going to start kicking off now as users find Sloth and Gorgona finds revenge. There is Dats, though, who has repeatedly been able to creep his way into these trouble situations. The diffuser is dropped. Nath is taken out by Kayak. Dug in and dug through the attackers as they try and make things work. Fonkus talked to him before and he's able to do a little bit back, but with the body still on the board, this is a theoretical 2 versus 2. Dats is a bit adrift, and now it's a 2 versus 1. They have to lock off this final kill, and they do through the wall. Dats and MnM, they find something back, and they find themselves only 1 round away from a point.
Well, we were speaking about Fonkus not having a lot of impact. In this round, he gets 2 kills. That's 2 more than that's 1 more, sorry, than he got across the whole of the game so far. That was the round to have an impact to keep MnM alive. And a draw looks like it's where we might be destined if MnM can clinch this final round. Blue Bar and Sunrise is going to be where we head to. I mentioned before, Covana's line of defense across Sunrise, down into the hallway, and then down towards Office was perfect. And I feel MnM almost cordoned themselves into Kitchen by being so one-dimensional with their attack. I'd love to see them mix it up here and see how Cowana can respond.
I love the idea of Fonkers he like heard us. He didn't hear us, but he knew, he knew.
Felt it.
And he was like, what do you mean I'm underperforming? And then just goes and does those big impact frags that really did swing that round more into their favor. It was the response, sure, of the combination of Dats alongside, who, if you want to call for those big plays and those big action moments that I kind of, in your little MnM vision, wanted MnM to have more of, because Cowana has been running away with all those highlight reel clips so far. Dats is the one, stepping in, stepped up, and stepped through.
Enough that it pulls us through to this. The final round, we either find ourselves ending at 7-5 to Cowana or a 6-6 to MnM. So yes, Cowana have done enough here to guarantee at least a draw. But MnM, although all I said a second ago around, it doesn't matter this game that much, as long as they beat Bekind, as long as they beat August, there is no problem. It's still the pride piece here, and let's not forget the seeding thing that I mentioned earlier on. It all weighs in and it all counts once we get towards the end of the group stages.
And both these teams would be so mad if they didn't get the win from this. At this point, MnM already mad. They wanted the win from this, and you ask either of these two rosters what they should have got from this game if they were playing their best, and they would both say a 7-0.
That's the kind of confidence and bravado that we carry in the UK, guys. I'm sorry. Don't ever expect a reasonable prediction from anyone in the UK. I'm enough proof of that, and the teams, no doubt, are also proof of that.
See you all at the World Cup.
Yeah. I can't wait for us to get on Twitter and all be talking mad smack about that, because we all know it's never going to carry through to results.
Hey, you can't tell them that, though. That's only allowed in our private UK discussions, which Sloth has now been removed from by Fonkers. Stepping up, stepping in when you need him the most. That's why you get a Finn to try and win. In this case, win a draw. But hey, you still get a Finn, and he's been able to do the bits that we kind of wanted from him a little bit earlier in the game, a little bit late. Now, Kayak has dug himself into the close corners, and he's just going to dance around and wait for these to be burnt by the discs, happily collecting and farming all of the points and all of the smokes and flashes that might come through. But without the shield, you can't be safe there. And you can't be safe there either, because Dats is cooking up in the kitchen. What's he cooking? A storm.
That and also the death of Kayak. Man, I don't know what the name of that dish might be, but it's got to be pretty disastrous for the side of Cowana regardless. That's the problem that I mentioned earlier on around why you need control of kitchen, or at least vision of it. No one paying any attention towards it gives that free kill to Dats. It's a 5 versus 3. Yuzu's almost getting taken down, but with only 3 players left alive, make that 2 for the side of Cowana. MnM might have done enough here to drag this back to being a draw. Plant finally starting to go down with so much time still left on the clock. And Fonkers, it's not just a Finn, it's the whole teeth of the shark here, biting into the side of Cowana, ripping them to the shreds and saying, we want this draw. This rivalry is going to continue long into the distance, and it's all down to Grizzly by himself. In a 1 versus 5, it's almost impossible to do inside 30 seconds. He's going to try and MnM end in style with a flawless round, and that UK debate around who is the better team remains incomplete, and I can't wait to see the next time they face off.
It's so fun that it ended in a flawless round, because it is just pure fodder and feed for bragging. That is all that is. That is them saying, well, we ended on a flawless. If we played this way, it would have been at 7-0. Both these teams are great. Both these teams are ones to watch, and both these teams could be great competitors for Tier 1, but neither team was able to establish it today.
Oh, and the flawless rounds, when it, like you say, just kind of leaves that tale untold of, yes, Cowana looked more dominant throughout the entire map for the most part. Then the final round, MnM go, we'll leave this one hanging. They dropped the mic, they've walked away and just gone, remember this flawless round, guys, because we'll be back. As will the analysts in just a few seconds. Let's get their thoughts on how this game went.
Thank you so much for reporting the very unbiased news from